infectious within our organization, and obviously has so far been a great asset.
Brian, let me ask you this question, because I'm sure you've thought this over, but obviously Arena.
After that setup, this can't be a stupid question after you just said
no, couldn't be. I was just going to say, besides the birth of your children and the marriage to your wife, which I'm sure ranked third and fourth, and then meeting Arena ranked third, I would assume that Paul Nardizzi and playing amateur soccer against Paul Nardizzi was probably what, first or second in your life?
It's right up there, I think. So Paul, he was doing a comedy show years ago for Taylor Twellman's fundraiser. He was one of the acts doing it, and so I was there because I support Taylor and a lot of what he's doing, and it was I'm watching the show, and guy gets up on stage, and I'm like, I know that guy from somewhere. Like, how do I know that guy? And I think I was just talking to someone, maybe Paul, or I don't know what it was. Like, oh yeah, he plays a lot of soccer. I'm like, that's the freaking guy from Four Kicks. Like, that's who that is. And Paul was like a little bit of like a quasi adult league legend, because like he always had this headband on, and
like, as we suspected, nothing to do with his play.
I don't think it was like Chuck Taylor's or other kind of high top sneakers that he had on, but then like he was also like the step over crossover king of indoor soccer. So like you get out there and he had like these super fast feet, and like most of us out there are like, listen, man, like I'm trying to get through this game. I'm going over to get some beers afterwards. Like, you're making this really hard on me, and I'm just trying not to embarrass myself so I can get out and play get some beers with the buddies tonight. I don't even know, 4, 5, 6 seasons of indoor, and you do see a lot of the same guys, and a lot of times you wind up the bar together. And I think, I don't know, Paul, you can vouch for this too. 99% of the time it was a lot of fun, and even the guys you're playing against, you have a beer with them afterwards, and a lot of good memories from those days of
absolutely
playing soccer.
And that is what people remember me by, is the outfit. So I'll tell you a story. I used to play in Hingham, and we won a tournament, and we just thought it was just a weekend tournament, but we got a trip to Atlanta to play in the Nationals, which was like crazy. We're just a pub team. So we're playing the San Diego Sockers farm team, and we're getting destroyed. It's like 12-0 at half. And I'm sitting on the bench in my high tops and my headband. And Mike Madden, Mike Madden? Used to run, he runs the Rams. He used to run the Rams.
Yeah.
So Mike comes over and he says, Paul, what's the matter? You look so depressed. I said, Mike, the thing I love about dressing like this is when I got on the field in Four Kicks or Hingham, they look at me and say, this guy looks like he sucks. But then I play and I'm good. I'm better than them. I said, but now these guys are looking at me saying he sucks, and I actually suck. He brings it up every time he sees me, and I actually suck.
My favorite. I'll tell one great indoor story. That I'm like, Tuesday night at Four Kicks, whatever it was, Wednesday night, right? And it's like 10:30, and we're in the middle of this game, and the refs are like the same guys and gals every week, right? Same group, really great folks, right? And same thing, like trying to earn some extra money reffing adult soccer at night. Like, just leave me alone. And so this guy on our team gets fouled. We're just, me and the other guy, we're setting up to take a free kick. And the guy on the other team who committed the foul, he's like in the refs here, right? Like, dude, you suck, man. You just suck. You know what? You're terrible. You suck. Every time out here, you suck. And finally the ref looks at the guy and goes, I suck? And the guy goes, yeah, you suck. He goes, I suck. He goes, yeah, you suck. He's like, I do suck. He goes, I suck, and you suck. He's doing all of it. And he sucks, and he sucks. And he goes, if any of us were any good at soccer, we wouldn't be at Four Kicks at 10:30 on Wednesday night. I almost died. It was the best thing I've ever heard anyone say on a soccer field. And the guy just walked away. And I looked at the guy and go, that's hilarious. He goes, it's true.
So I have
here's a lot of perspective.
So I have a few theories, Brian, on soccer, one of which is if you pass back to your goalie a lot, you win a lot of games, okay? But we'll get to, that's just a theory I have. So anyways, there are about 7 comedians on the circuit in Boston. 6 of them are goalies, including the 2 lummoxes that I'm sitting with right now. So my theory on this is that if you're a funny kid, you're a bit of a risk taker, you have some guts, because it takes guts to make people laugh because it might not go over, you're sort of an outside-the-box kind of thinker. But when I see your goalies on interviews, they don't seem like that, but you know them better than us. So what are, Knighton and Reese and Shuttleworth and Turner like behind the scenes? Are they pranksters? Are they funny guys?
I hate that you brought him up by name because I was going to tell you at the professional level, we say all the goalkeepers have a screw loose somewhere. That's
Absolutely.
point of view on goalkeeping
I don't think
in general. But now I feel bad because you mentioned the guys by name. So I think the group that we've had in here, of all the goalkeepers we've had in here, only Reese was like a real over the top prankster goofball. I think the rest of the guys are all great, really, truly great guys, really hard workers. I mean, a guy like Brad Knighton, has spent a lot of time in this league and had to work really hard to either win a place in the different places he's been or keep his place where he's been. And I give a lot of credit always when you see veterans like Brad, who's been around as long as they have, you don't get to see behind the scenes how hard those guys, have to work. I mean, think about all of us in our lives, and when you're younger and you eat whatever you want, you're running around just playing sports and not thinking about everything, and you're always fit, and then you get older and all of a sudden you start losing your fitness. And I think at the pro level, for guys that last as long as that, there's a lot of extra work that they've got to put in to keep themselves to be able to play at this level. And I always have a lot of, I say that to fans of just about any sport, that when you see guys that get up in age and can still do it, there's a lot of work that's keeping those guys in shape. Maddie is just an amazing story. And we actually, Remy Roy, who's now our head of scouting, who was a goalkeeper coach at the time, we looked at him coming out of Fairfield, and he was an undrafted rookie. And we actually, that was, I think, the first time we carried that extra keeper because the roster sizes were so small back then, but just thought that he had potential, to turn into something, that he had so much raw talent and ability. And so when you think about Matt starting the game so late, coming from where he came from, being undrafted, he has always had an unbelievable approach to learning and working on his game. Everything that you see Matt being today is really attributed to all the work he's put in. We sent him on loan 1 year to another market for a USL team to get him gains and experience, and he embraced that with open arms. He's just done such a tremendous job, and I think if there's any player that you want to pick to root for throughout his career, Matt is that guy. I mean, he's good off the field as he is on it, and just a ton of respect for a guy that really has had to put in the work and is always learning, always spoke. Even today, where you think now he's on the national team and goalkeeper of the year, he gets interviewed and he just always mentions things he's trying to get better at, and just a great guy. And we've had a great group of keepers around here over the years for sure.
You mentioned the year that you had last year. I just want to go back to this for just a second. First of all, despite what these two guys say, I really like the fan experience. I love going to the Revs because for the same reason somebody at one point probably loved going to the Pistons when they were in the Pontiac Superdome and they had 9 million seats to fill and you could always get a seat. I like the fact that I can drive to Foxborough on a nice night. I can get a ticket when I want to get the ticket. I can see a nice, enjoyable professional sports game, particularly now because you've been much better in the last few years than the previous years. And going back to when Taylor Twellman was there, you've had up years and down years. But it's a nice thing to do, even if you don't really follow the sport from week to week, game to game. I know that within the soccer community, you'll get people who grouse and, they should open a stadium and they should build a stadium. And guys like Paul and Jim who want to spend the Kraft's money. But I would never do that. But I like the idea that I can show up. And I know that within the soccer community, you've got a lot of discussion. In the mainstream of Boston sports media, as you mentioned, some people. Here's what I heard that I thought was interesting. The first time that I really ever heard Revs criticism on mainstream Boston sports talk radio was after you guys lost the playoff game last fall. And I thought, as I'm listening to it, this is actually probably good for the Revs because the fact that people can criticize a professional sports team it's worked for the Red Sox for over 100 years. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I mean, is it actually good for you when the Revs get criticized on sports media like that?
At a high level, yeah. I mean, I think I remember that next day hearing a lot of that as well. It was, I don't know if I'll use the word fair criticism, but it was the same criticism that would be given out to any of our other sports teams that, that lost in that scenario, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, what if the Bruins did this? What if the Celtics did this? What if the Red Sox?
Oh, don't rub it in. Don't rub it in.
That's like, let's put it this way. Here's a good example I always use to talk to people, right? I've taken my kids when they were younger to Disney on Ice, right? Mm-hmm. And if you go to Disney on Ice and the show sucked and Mickey fell down and Donald was half in the bag while he was out there, you don't come home and get upset about it, right? You're not calling a station the next day to complain about it. You're just kind of like, it's pretty mediocre, but these people have to wear costumes and skate around, so I don't blame them, right? But in sports, right, like, people get upset and people talk about us and they're yelling and they're flaming me on social media because they care. What we do and how our team performs matters to people. So, it's at a high level, it's a great thing to have our fans, to have sports radio, TV, whatever it is, engage in our sport and passionate about our wins and passionate about our losses. The worst thing you can have is apathy. And so, I wasn't happy we lost the game. I was pissed too. We were all pissed here. But I think it's a real sign that, like, those people who work in sports media in our city are really starting to buy in on our club and not just from is soccer going to make it or this conversation or that. Like, they were taking calls because there was a passionate fan base that wanted to vent about the loss.
Right.
And that's engaging. And so, when our fans are angry and upset, I'm not happy because I don't want them to be angry and upset, but at least I know they care and they're excited about it. So, I never fault a fan or media member for having a go when we've done something like lose a game we shouldn't have lost and they're pissed about it. I mean, that's part of the job, that's the business. Did
it sting a little bit when you heard it? I mean, I know you're being philosophical and all that.
The comments and the media stuff, not at all. What stung was that night before when we lost the game.
Yeah, that would have been a lot. That would have been a lot worse.
I was there. It did sting. It was up there with the Houston shootout for me as a real stinger.
Did you see Paul at the game, Brian? He had a headband on.
I was showing off my footwork, working a lot.
He's got to start wearing the headband and the high top so we can pick him out in the crowd a little easier. So.
Yeah, that'll be the next game.
I will be there on the 15th. I'm looking forward to the game against the Haitian team. Go Revs!
I'd go full winter hat, not this headband, Paul.
I will.
I'm glad you mentioned. I mean, Champions League it's really interesting because it's super important to us and a lot of our hardcore fans, right? But it's not a concept that translates easily into the sort of standard American sports culture. So I think over time, right, we need our clubs to perform well in Champions League, and so that we can keep talking about it and help people be interested in it. But my joke with sports people is like, here's the thing about soccer. When we compete for world championships, we invite teams from other countries, right? It's not it's a world sport, and I'm like, unlike the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox, we can actually be world champions. Like, we can go to a tournament where we can say we were the best team in the world this year. We have to be good to make Champions League, to get invited to that tournament. And then we have to compete against other teams in our region to be the best team in our region. And then we get to go to a tournament where we compete with teams around the world to see who wins that tournament. So it's a really, really cool, amazing thing that I love about our sport. And I just hope over time we can build this Champions League product up and people can understand, like, why this is really critical and how it really gives you a measuring stick for your club in the entire world, and most specifically, obviously, our region with MLS, and we're trying to be more competitive with Liga MX. So it's really cool. So I hope people, if they're here, great. If they're not, they tune in and watch. We're taking it very serious, and we want to be the first MLS team to win this Champions League.
And Brian, the most important thing, honestly, is when you walk into Logan Airport, you see all the banners from all the New England teams. We need a Revolution one up there as people come into this state.
Well, we got one. We got the Supporters Shield.
No, but we got the Supporters Shield, but I want to see an MLS flag up there. And put it this way, Paul and I are probably, at least on this podcast, the biggest fans going. So, and then that's the goal. What we're doing, everything we're pushing for here is to get that cup. So hopefully we have another great regular season that sets us up for some more home playoff games, and we can accomplish that goal this year.
Brian, thanks very much for joining us. I think we've probably taken enough of your time, and I know you're probably thinking, geez, I hope they don't go into extra time because we never know when that'll end.
No, it was my pleasure, Paul. And when I got to know it, I just the community of soccer is just so vibrant, and I think it's really important that whether I'm talking to the Boston Globe about